The Orlando Science Center is a 4-story interactive edutainment experience with exhibits and information on animals, past and present, art, space, the weather, physics, technology, engineering, and, well, science. The parking garage is connected to the building with an elevated walkway, which I always think is pretty future. Inside was really pretty. It was decorated with rainbow beads hanging from the ceiling. On the first floor is what Walt Disney would call the weenie of the Science Center. These are 4-story tall man-made mangrove trees. And from the upper stories you can see what seems to be taxidermy birds hanging out up there. The trees are coming out of a baby alligator, turtle, and fish enclosure. There are 3 different types of turtles in here and 2 different types of fish. I was really excited to see an alligator gar. This alligator was just sticking his face in the waterfall. It was really cute. And they had this touch screen where you could scroll through the different types of animals and switch between English and Espanol. Also on the first floor was this squirrel enclosure, which had a tunnel that they could use to crawl over top of us on our walkway. They didn't use it while we were over there, but I still was really excited to see it because that's pretty cool. These squirrels share an enclosure with a gopher tortoise who was hiding while we were over there. And across from them is this owl enclosure. They usually have a box turtle with them, but it was off exhibit temporarily, as you could see there. In between these 2 enclosures is a projection mapping book. It was showing up rainbow on my camera for some reason, but it had information on wildlife and invasive species. The pages change when you flip the page. Low-key put Epcot to shame, not gonna lie. And we'll see more examples of that later. This illustration, you can color it in by waving your hand over it, and look at the ripple effect of where you're touching the page. Still on the first floor, we're gonna head on over to the ocean exhibit. This is a newer exhibit with a few aquariums. We're gonna follow the shiny schooling fish down to the real schooling shiny fish. And this pretty rock work and blue lighting that makes you feel like you're going underwater, and a big circular tank with another touch screen. I'm glad it was there because I had no idea there was a pufferfish. Baloo, there's a pufferfish in here. We saw what we thought was a baby hammerhead shark, but we learned it was a bonnethead shark. You can walk behind the tank and there are these little windows for kids to look into it, which is also pretty future. Am I right? Across from that in the wall was a porthole looking tank. They were growing coral in it, and it had its own touch screen. And coming out of the other side from behind the tank, I just realized there's stairs there. I want to go to there. This fish hung out with us for quite a while, and I think he was my fave, even though I was kind of freaked out by him.
Oh my god, what is that?
I also just realized he might not have been hanging out with us, but instead staring at this customizable kaleidoscope thing where you can like add whatever fish or corals you want to it. Regardless, I'm glad he stayed still because look at those chompers! These big forehead fellows were also checking us out, looking for food or something, but they were fun. Me looking. We also finally spotted the pufferfish. It looked very happy and cute. And this room had a touch tank, which had like starfish and the usual suspects. Now we're gonna head over to the rainforest. There were 4 different types of critters in here, and there's a pathway where you can walk right up in their enclosure. There are a ton of trees and branches for the animals to climb on. And right away we spotted a monkey. Do you see it? Do you see it? It was so tiny and cute.
Oh my god, what?
They were super active and not afraid to be around people, but they also kept their distance. There's this beautiful rock work which hides the entrances to another room that the animals can go into, and there was a sloth hanging out there. There's this little area with a branch and some bird toys, but the birds preferred to be up near the gift shop window, which had dots on it for their safety, which was awesome. And from the gift shop, you get a really good view of the birds and the monkeys. I highly recommend going in there. There was also this little cichlid pond, which had a giant waterfall pouring into it, which was beautiful. All of these plants are live plants and they're labeled. I was nerding out a little bit. And then we heard this scary bird, I guess it was, and then we left. Still on the first floor, yes, this is a 4-story science center. We found this diorama made completely out of sugar, royal icing, and eggs. And it's of underwater stuff, which is like right up my alley. We spent a long time just looking at all the details. I spent a lot of time mouth watering. Like, tell me you would not eat that pufferfish. And the sea slug? Oh my god.
Would you eat this?
The answer was yes. 1,000,000 times yes. 1,000,000,000, 100,000,000,000 times yes. We found a pressed penny machine, which is a classic of any good vacation destination. It's the perfect souvenir. We chose the little fossil fella, forget his name. Okay, now we're moving on to the second floor, but we will be back to the first floor for some things that I haven't even shown you yet. The more my camera pans up, the more futuristic it gets.
Oh yeah, look at all these levels.
We stumbled upon this interventions type area with the science of Guinness World Records. It's the colorful one to the right, and the wooden area is the kinetic zone. This level also had a kids town, which I didn't go into and didn't get any footage of. It also apparently has a digital adventure theater, which we did not see. But there were a ton of interactive games and activities. I tried this balance buster one. It had like a balance board. You have to try and balance.
You can't hold it.
Right, that's a lot harder, right?
Yeah, obviously.
They had this entire area just for 2 of these things, these wooden things. What are these called?
How you did it?
They had this boxing thing that I crushed.
Wow, somebody got punched in the face with these.
These are boxing gloves signed by Muhammad Ali. Okay, this is one of my favorite things that we did. It kind of blew my mind. I've never seen anything like this before, have you? It was so fun. It was literal magic. Put this in the Wonders of Life pavilion, please, I'm begging. This was pretty cool, but the tube next to it, the sign literally says put both hands on it and then make someone touch your skin, and then it will shock you. And we did it, but it didn't really shock that bad. But they had an example of Jacob's ladder. No, not that Jacob's ladder. And there were a couple of these things where you could crank it up and then launch something into a clear tube. This one, you launch like a metal ring. And of course, Jaden cranked it up all the way, and then he pushed the button, and then it came flying out. And the other one launches a plastic bottle into a much taller tube, which was pretty cool. You can also use the plastic bottles to make a car and launch it on this track. There are these pulley things where you can pull yourself up, and then up there you can see there's like an art gallery that can see down into this area. There was a coffee shop, but I felt awkward filming it because there was just 2 employees in there and nobody else, and they could see me through the doorway. But on the 3rd floor, there were a bunch of puzzles and such, teaching you about different bridges and archways, the architectures. You know how it is. Women in STEM type thing. There was this laser harp, which actually sounded beautiful. Level 3 also has the hive where kids can go and make puppets. Now we're going into the Dino Room. This is on level 4. It has an interactive lab. You can see that's the blue room there. There's a dino bone digging area. There were a bunch of giant fossil displays. I literally felt like I was in Animal Crossing. This room had a really good vibe to it, even though I'm not even into dinosaurs like that. I think the thing I most enjoyed in this room were the smaller fossils. These were behind glass, so some, if not all of them, were real. They're labeled with numbers so you can find out exactly what you're looking at and even where they're from. The shells and fish fossils were my favorite. We spent a lot of time in this room just looking at all of these little fossils and the big fossils alike and reading the information they had on the plaques. Here's a fishy looking fella. And we found the guy from my pressed penny. Also, a toad fossil. Freaking cool. There were a couple of kids having a lot of fun with this screen that makes it look like there's dinosaurs and different stuff in the room with you. Here's some more aquatic specimens. Fish mouth plates, fish vertebrae, a barracuda jaw and barracuda teeth, and coral with gemstones growing on it. These two were my favorite fossils. This one was really interesting because it had a diagram of how it was inaccurately put together at first. Then we found a room that was all about space and weather, and they had this floating orb, which would be Earth, and a little news station. Maybe I should do fish news here. Another interactive lab, one of these gravity wells. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen these in the mall, but it gets you to like donate coins because you want to see it like spin. This earthquake simulator was actually really fun. It felt like a Wonderworks type thing.
Scared. Oh my gosh. Where's
Gotta
the
ride the
view?
quake, honey.
Here we see another example of this place putting Epcot to shame, honestly. The graphics on this game were really good. There was a little diorama of the Mars rover. There was another version of this they had too that was exploring the moon. I could totally see this in the room you exit into after Mission to Mars. They have this display full of documents and pieces of paper relating to the history of space travel. Some retro-looking pamphlets and newspapers. This random table with hypnotic fluid inside of it with no explanation. A tornado and hurricane simulator. Once again, Wonderworks vibes. And then we found the art exhibit. The theme for the exhibit was geology for right now. I think it changes. Yeah, it's gonna end on October 6th. There were a couple recycled glass sculptures that looked like geodes, as well as a few real geodes. This one's from Arkansas. These are from the same people, I believe. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the multi-level synergy of this area, as well as the gift shop that looks down into the Rainforest exhibit. I love stuff like that. There was an instrument petting zoo, but the doors were closed while we were there, so I have no idea what that's about. But this is my favorite piece that we saw. I love the shapes and colors so much. Here's a few other honorable mentions. This one was sucking me in. Really hypnotic. Not sure how it's geology. I probably should have read the plaque. This one used fool's gold in a little mixed media type way. This reminds me of Big Thunder. Gotta love it. Then we went back down to the first level to the restaurant. This is the hallway that leads to it. It's giving living with the land. It's giving future. It's giving edutainment, education, and food rocks. It's giving what living with the land wanted to be. It had interactive learning stuff and this screen playing information constantly while you eat. Tell me that is not literally living with the land. There's a plant wall next to the area where you order your food. And the ceiling had these futuristic shapes in it. They did not have to do all that. I ordered a turkey bacon ranch wrap and Jaden got a chicken and rice bowl. We found this nice table next to the window. It was a really nice view and a really nice experience and yummy. And I really liked this place. And on our way out, we saw that they added plants to this little grow out area. And then we made our way to the Doug Cinedome. Just kidding, it's the Dr. Philip Cinedome. These are the 4 different shows they do throughout the day. This is an 8-story dome theater, kind of like Circle Vision. I'll show you real soon. But across from this is a little clubhouse where you can rent it out for a kid's birthday party. What the? Walking in here was so surreal. I felt like I was dreaming. Basically everywhere that was not seating was screen. It was hard to capture on camera because the screen was just so massive. I recommend getting a seat toward the middle back so you don't have to look up the entire time. But I've never experienced anything like this. The closest thing is Soarin' at Disney World, but this is totally different. The seats are also spaced apart really well, so you don't have to worry about anyone blocking your view in front of you, although it is a bit of a tripping hazard, so watch your step. This is like peak future. I thought the multi-level was future. This is future.
Now, sit back, relax, and experience the power of the Cinedome.
Starting out a film about the coral reef with a nuclear bomb was a choice. I was kind of just there for the shots like this, where I feel like I'm underwater. It was incredibly immersive. Jaden did get a little bit motion sick. There was one part where the fish were swimming one way and the camera was panning the opposite way. They had a bunch of different types of sea slugs on the screen, and seeing such a tiny critter bigger than a school bus was crazy. My camera can't even pick up how magical this was. It also looks a little dark on my camera, so I'm gonna have to like adjust it to hopefully match as close as possible to how it was in real life. But my vision was just filled with jellyfish. This was my favorite part. How do I live here? How do I put this in my house? Overall, I'd say the Science Center was well worth the money. It was about $30 a person. It's very kid friendly. Although if you don't like kids, then this might not be the place for you because there are a lot of kids on the loose. But if you love learning about animals and science, then this is the perfect place for you. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace and love.